You can understand every single word I am saying right now. But if I asked you to reply, your mind would go completely blank. Why does your brain betray you like this?
Welcome back, everyone. You're tuning in to another episode of Podcast and Chill. I'm Jack, always here to add a bit of laughter to your day.
And I'm Mira, here to give you the best tips and tricks for your daily grind. Today, we're diving into a topic that resonates with millions of our listeners.
Yes, we're talking about the classic dilemma. I can understand English, but I can't speak it. It's a deeply frustrating situation for so many learners out there.
Absolutely, Jack. But fear not, folks. We've got some powerful strategies today to help you shatter that invisible barrier.
Let's get right to the root of it, Mira. This massive gap between listening and speaking. Why does it exist? People spend years studying grammar. They watch Netflix without subtitles, yet they freeze in a real conversation.
It comes down to passive versus active skills. Listening is entirely passive. You're sitting back, letting the information wash over you. Your brain recognizes the patterns, but it doesn't have to build them from scratch. Speaking, however, is an active creation. You have to retrieve the vocabulary, assemble the grammar, and physically articulate the sounds in milliseconds.
That makes total sense. It's like watching Gordon Ramsay cook a beef Wellington for 5 years, and then thinking you can just walk into a kitchen and do it perfectly on your first try.
Exactly. And here is the brutal truth. Watching 1,000 hours of English videos will not make you a fluent speaker. Just like watching sports won't make you an athlete. You need the reps. You need actual output.
But there's a psychological monster in the room too, isn't there? The fear of looking foolish. I think that paralyzes people more than a lack of vocabulary.
Oh, 100%. The fear of making mistakes is the #1 dream killer for language learners. We are terrified of being judged, so we choose silence. We treat every conversation like a final exam instead of what it really is, a simple tool to connect with another human being.
And because we are so afraid of making a mistake, we fall into the worst trap of all, mental translation.
Yes, the mental translation trap. This is exhausting. It's when you hear an English sentence, translate it into your native language in your head, formulate your reply in your native language, translate that back into English, and then finally speak.
By the time you've done all that math in your head, the conversation has already moved on. No wonder people feel exhausted after a 5-minute chat. It ruins any chance of spontaneous, natural flow.
Right. To be fluent, your brain needs the agility to bypass the native language entirely. You have to train your brain to live inside the English language.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we break this silence when we are terrified? And maybe we don't even have native speakers around us to practice with.
You start alone. You have to build the muscle memory before you step onto the field. One of the absolute best ways to do this is by narrating your life. Be the narrator of your own documentary.
Wait, like Morgan Freeman narrating my morning routine?
Exactly like that. As you're walking around your house, just say out loud what you're doing. I am walking to the kitchen. I'm opening the fridge. We are out of milk. I need to buy milk later. It sounds ridiculously simple, but it forces your brain to retrieve everyday vocabulary on the spot without the pressure of another person judging you.
I like that. Here we see Jack making his 3rd cup of coffee, fueling his questionable life choices.
See, you're already a pro. And another classic technique that actually works is the mirror practice. Stand in front of the mirror, make eye contact with yourself, and talk for 2 minutes. It builds an incredible amount of confidence because you see your own expressions.
It forces you to look up. instead of staring at your shoes while you try to remember a word.
Exactly. Narrating your life and mirror talk are great for building that initial bridge. But if you want to sound natural, if you want to pick up the rhythm, the slang, and the true melody of English, practicing alone isn't going to cut it. There is a specific technique that actors use to master accents, and it's the ultimate hack for language learners.
Oh, the ultimate hack? Now you've got my attention.
It's called mimicking the masters. But there's a very specific way to do it so you don't just sound like a robot.
Before you reveal this ultimate hack, I have to say this. If you guys are sitting there nodding your heads and finding value in this episode, hit that subscribe button right now. We drop completely free, highly actionable hacks like this every single week. You don't want to miss out. All right, Mira, the suspense is killing me. How do we mimic the masters without sounding crazy?
It's a technique linguists call shadowing. Most people practice listening by just playing a podcast or watching a movie. Shadowing is different. You find an audio clip of a native speaker you admire, maybe an actor, a YouTuber, or even someone doing a TED Talk. You play a sentence, pause it, and then you repeat it exactly as they said it.
Exactly? Like matching their pitch and tone?
Exactly. You are not just repeating the words, you are copying the melody, the emotion, the pauses, and the emphasis. If they sound excited, you sound excited. If they drop their voice to a whisper, you drop your voice to a whisper.
So I could just shadow Matthew McConaughey and go around saying, all right, all right, all right, in a Texas drawl?
I mean, you could. Honestly, that's exactly the point. By adopting someone else's persona, you actually lower your own anxiety. You're not Jack, who is terrified of making a mistake in English. You're playing the role of Matthew McConaughey. It tricks your brain into relaxing. Plus, it teaches you how words blend together in real life, the connected speech that textbooks completely ignore.
That is brilliant. It's like using a mental mask to hide your insecurities until the language just becomes muscle memory.
Exactly. And once you have built that muscle memory through narrating your life, talking to the mirror, and shadowing native speakers, you are finally ready for the ultimate test: real human interaction.
The final boss battle, taking it from passive studying and solitary practice to active, real-world conversations. This is where people freeze up again. How do you kickstart a conversation without sweating through your shirt?
The secret is to take the pressure off yourself by making the other person do the talking. People love talking about themselves and giving their opinions. Use foolproof conversation starters. Don't just say, "Hello, how are you?" That leads to a dead end. "I'm fine, thanks."
Right, the classic textbook dialogue that nobody actually uses in real life.
Exactly. Instead, ask for a recommendation. If you are at a coffee shop, ask the person next to you, "Hey, I'm trying to decide what to get. What's your favorite thing on the menu?" Or if you're at work, ask, "Did you watch anything good on Netflix this weekend? I need a new show."
Oh, asking for a movie recommendation is a gold mine. Everyone has an opinion on movies. And what kind of questions should we ask to keep that momentum going?
Open-ended questions. Avoid questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no. Instead of asking, "Did you like the movie?" ask, "What did you think about the ending of that movie?" It forces a narrative response. It gives you time to listen, breathe, and formulate your next thought without the spotlight blinding you.
It's like a game of tennis. You're just trying to keep the ball in their court for a little bit while you catch your breath. But Mira, what happens when, not if, but when we make a mistake? What if we use the wrong tense or completely forget a word in the middle of a sentence?
You smile, you laugh at yourself, and you keep going. Listen to me very carefully. Native speakers do not care about your grammar mistakes. They really don't. They care about your message. They care about the connection.
That is so true. I have friends with heavy accents who make grammatical errors all the time, but they are the most charismatic people in the room because they just own it. They speak with confidence.
Confidence is a self-fulfilling prophecy, Jack. If you believe you can communicate, you will. If you stumble, just say, what's the word I'm looking for? Or, let me start over. It shows vulnerability, and vulnerability builds instant rapport. The only true failure in language learning is choosing silence.
Choosing silence. That is a powerful way to look at it. So, to sum it all up for our listeners today, stop relying solely on passive listening. Stop the mental translation. Start actively outputting by narrating your life, shadowing the masters, and initiating low-pressure conversations with open-ended questions. Embrace the mistakes, because every mistake is just a stepping stone to fluency.
Beautifully said, Jack. It's time to step out of the shadows and start speaking your mind. You have the words. Now give them a voice.
That wraps up today's episode of Podcast and Chill. We want to hear from you. What is your biggest barrier when it comes to speaking English? Let us know down in the comments below. We read every single one.
Keep practicing, stay confident, and remember that fluency is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.
Catch you guys later.